Daily Tech News Show is made possible by you listening right now. Thank you, Chris Allen, Chris Smith, Mark Gibson, and everyone. Welcome our brand new patron, Ed. On this episode of DTNS, the first iOS alternative to Apple Pay arrives. You can now buy a car from your local dealer on Amazon, and Magic Leap helps treat Parkinson's disease. This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, December 10th, 2024 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
And we have assembled today for one reason.
Oh, gosh. What is it?
You guys don't know what the reason is? It's to bring people to tech news.
Tech news.
That was understood.
I was about to say check shirts and flannel.
We need to work on our mission
I thought you were going to be like, look under your chair, Sarah. You get a car.
You get a car from Amazon. And you...
Hey, that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, it would be, except for the taxes. All right. Meanwhile, we shall start with the quick hits.
The Tuesday announcement of the 12 days of OpenAI is related to Canvas, which is a collaborative editing interface. The update can run Python inside Canvas and can be accessed from the main model, not just the beta. If you ask ChatGPT to help write, for example, it will trigger Canvas, or you can launch it from a function button.
Microsoft launched a new data center design that it developed back in August that does not waste water for cooling. Company estimates its data centers use about 125 million liters of water per year. The new design uses a closed loop. So there will be some water that goes into the cooling system at the start, but then it stays there, meaning the data center does not have to draw in new water from local supplies. That's especially important for data centers in dry areas. New projects using the closed loop are scheduled for Phoenix, Arizona and Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin, and they will start using these designs in 2026.
Smart glasses maker Solos has launched its first pair of smart glasses that support Google's Gemini. The Ergo Vision will also be able to use Anthropic's Claude and OpenAI's GPT-4o models. At least that is the plan at this point. The glasses will only support GPT-4o at launch, with the open framework being added in a software update. Like most smart glasses, the Ergo Vision has a camera and speakers to support multimodal queries, as well as translation, music streaming, and voice calls. They are available now for $299.
Yeah, and they're in that look like normal glasses on your face kind of style. They look decent. Yeah. Lithium prices have plummeted as mines have produced high amounts of the mineral needed for batteries, especially electric vehicles. But Reuters reports that mining companies, mostly owned by Chinese companies, do not have plans to reduce production. That means the price is going to stay low and there's a risk of oversupply. But the mining companies say that maintaining production retains market share and good government relations. In other words, China wants them to keep doing it. Also, slowdowns and stoppages could lead to technical issues when production ramps back up later. So they figure it's probably safer to just keep production steady anyway. The price of raw lithium hydroxide has fallen 90% since December 2022.
Instagram launched a feature called Trial Reels that lets you as a creator publish a video reel that can only be seen by people who don't follow you. So as a creator, you can try new ideas, see what kind of new followers you might be able to attract without necessarily getting feedback from your existing followers. After 24 hours, you can choose to archive the whole thing or share it to your existing fan base.
Norway's Vipps, VIPPS, is the first company to launch a tap-to-pay system that can be used as the default on iPhones in place of Apple Pay. Service can be used in Norway. More than 40 banks are participating. That covers about 70% of Norway's banking customers. Works on about 90% of payment terminals, so it's going to be as well taken up as Apple Pay. If you're an iPhone user, it works just like Apple Pay. Once you associate it as your default, you just double-click on the side button and then authenticate with Face ID or Touch ID or a passcode, and you're on your way. Apple is doing this because it agreed with the European Commission in July to open its mobile payment systems to competitors and is doing it worldwide. This is not just a European thing. It allows access for developers to the phone's NFC function for wallets and lets users set up their own default payment apps. Vipps plans to extend the service beyond Norway to Denmark, Finland, and Sweden next year. And there are other companies who have said they plan to offer alternatives as well. This is very useful if you're a Vipps user, obviously, for some reason, if you're already in the Vipps service. I'm not sure, Sarah, why someone would switch if they're already using Apple Pay to using an alternative, whether it's Vipps or anything else.
Yeah, I'm not a Vipps customer, but I am a Bank of America customer. And within Apple Pay, which I use on a daily basis, I have my debit card that is connected, and I have an alternative credit card if I ever need to use that. And I guess my question is, if the money that, if I go pay for, an Orange Julius, right, and I use Apple Pay and it's coming directly from my bank account through my debit card, how does Vipps somehow make things different?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the challenge, is what do these alternatives use to entice people to use them instead of Apple Pay? Because they're not banks. Vipps is working with the banks just the way Apple does. Certainly there are going to be occasional situations where your bank hasn't been available in Apple Pay. That happens from time to time. And maybe an alternative service does offer it. And so you can do that. I suppose in the US, something like Zelle, or internationally, something like PayPal or Kakao Pay could say, well, we already have customers who have their payment system set up with us. And so it'll be easy for them to use this. But again, if you haven't set up Apple Pay, then that's one thing, right? Kakao Pay or Apple or PayPal could email you and say like, hey, you can now use us as your default payment option, right? And I could see them doing that. On the other hand, if you're already using Apple Pay, they're going to have to work to explain the benefit of switching from Apple Pay to something else.
Yeah, I mean, as many banks do, it's sort of like, oh, if you use this card, whether it's, a bank, a credit union, or, something in between, you might get, a certain amount of cash back. If you shop at these particular places, I certainly, take advantage of that with an Amazon credit card that I use at Whole Foods, where I get more cash back there than if I would be shopping at a different grocery store. But it does not seem like anything to do with Apple Pay inherently is going to help folks out, besides the fact that competition is good, I suppose. Apple having to say, all right, we have to let Vipps, let its customers use Vipps if that's what they want to do, which is the point of this. So, okay. I'd love to know from anybody who says, oh, here's why this is better. Who's using it in the Norwegian market or otherwise.
BioCow, who works in the industry in the U.S., says that likely Fiserv and FIS might get into this. They're large payment providers that power small banks and credit unions. So that might be a way that a credit union gets you to use this and says like, hey, we're part of this, add this as your default payment provider. But again, Apple Pay and Google Pay and Samsung Pay have all done a good job of being fairly universal. They have a lot of banks and a lot of credit cards that work with them. And so you can know that you're going to be able to use it everywhere. It's a bigger step up to say, stop using Apple Wallet as your default and start using Vipps. It doesn't replace Apple Wallet. You can keep Apple Pay on your phone, but you have to have one default payment that comes up when you double click that side, right? So it's trying to get that slot that's going to be the thing that's important.
It kind of feels like the way that, at one point it was Safari on iOS, and then it was like, well, no, you should be able as a consumer to choose your default browser on iOS. This feels like a little bit of the same thing.
There's a different, I feel like it's a good comparison, but I feel like with browsers, it's a matter of taste, right? Like, I'm a Chrome user. So it kind of doesn't matter which browser I use, so I'm going to use this one. With the wallets, though, it's a matter of trust, not taste. So you're saying, I'm using Apple Pay. I trust Apple Pay. It never fails for me, but I'm going to switch to Vips or anything else. Again, I'm very curious to see what other companies launch this. I mean, theoretically, Google could operate on iOS now and let you use Google Pay, which would be an interesting way for people who use Android, maybe Android, tablets or something to pick up an iPhone and use it.
I mean, I know Apple has, a need to be the default of everything, or at least hopes that we will choose Apple Pay as the default. But at the same time, I feel like the more competition, the better in this sort of scenario. If you say, you know what, I love my iPhone, but I just, I've got my whole financial situation that's outside of Apple Pay and that doesn't help me and that makes it, it requires me to still have a physical credit card, in my pocket or my wallet or whatever every time I go out somewhere. To have more options actually helps Apple in the end.
Yeah. And it will allow us to see what kinds of features might be useful that we wouldn't have seen otherwise, because Apple wasn't pushed to create new features for this as long as it worked. Maybe there's some cool things that these competitors will do that Apple would then adopt. Could be good for everybody.
Well, Amazon's first foray into literally buying a car on its platform, at least if you want a Hyundai for now, it's called Amazon Auto. Hyundai dealers in 48 cities in the United States can now list their vehicles on Amazon. So as a customer, you can browse cars, you can order a car, you can find financing for a car that you might want, and you can also arrange delivery. Amazon first announced that it wanted to sell cars just about over a year ago. In the past, you could browse some car showrooms and compare prices on Amazon. It's always been good for that for a lot of things, but you couldn't actually buy the car itself. So Amazon says it hopes to add more auto partners in the future. I think one of the first questions that someone's going to say is, well, what about, all the car dealerships? What about traditional car sellers? They're still going to get their money, at least in this scenario as it exists right now. Amazon says it acts as the middleman between the customer, you're the one buying the car, and the dealership, they're the one selling you the car. It's not really that different than going to, let's say you have a local dealership that's, in your town or city, and you go, and most dealerships, unless they're super tiny, will show you pictures of the inventory of cars that they have. Here's the car, here's the specs, here are the prices, and you can do a fair amount of negotiating online already. Amazon would simply be replicating that for a lot of people who wouldn't necessarily go to those dealership websites in the first place.
Although no negotiating. With Amazon, it's transparent pricing. So if you're somebody who likes negotiating your car price, don't use Amazon, because there's no negotiating allowed. It's the price you get.
Right.
Most people don't like the negotiating, so I think that's seen as a positive. And it reminds me most of Carvana or Cars.com, which also pull in listings from local dealers. Now, again, Amazon's only doing Hyundai at this point, so Carvana and Cars.com don't have anything to worry about because they have multiple dealers with multiple brands of cars. And in Carvana's case, they can pull cars from around the country, whereas it looks like there's a kind of a region-specific aspect to the Amazon Autos thing. If you go to Amazon's vehicle showroom, which is where this is, Hyundai now has a section that says buy on Amazon. BMW and Nissan are listed there. So I feel like those are the likely next brands to be available to buy through Amazon, since they already have partners to just show off their cars on this vehicle showroom. But yeah, you'd be forgiven for even knowing this vehicle showroom existed, because all you could do was look at the cars before. And now you can actually buy one, and you can go pick it up at the dealership, or you can have it brought to you, again, just like Carvana. So I don't think this is going to drive those companies out of business yet, but it's certainly Amazon is coming for them.
Yeah, I think, if someone's sort of scratching their head saying, but why Amazon? Well, Amazon has millions and millions of users. Now, of course, Hyundai being the first partner, if you want one of the cars on offer that you can get through Amazon, Well, it's like anything that you buy on Amazon, right? It's convenient. You might get, a little money taken off. Amazon's offering a gift card right now for $2,300 for anybody who buys a car through Amazon through January 10th. It's just sort of like a promotional
That's
thing.
one of those cash back with your purchase kind of situations.
Yeah,
except
and it's
a
like
gift card.
you can apply that to the purchase of your car or something else on Amazon. I mean, that's sort of the beauty of Amazon. If you're in the Amazon ecosystem, it's like Amazon's like, you could buy anything with the $2,300. And as somebody who has spent quite a lot of time in car dealerships for a variety of reasons. I've just had a lot of cars in my life. The whole haggling process of buying a car can be really stressful. Some people are into it, or you know what you're doing and you say, no, don't need Amazon for this. No way. A lot of people don't feel that way. And I'm kind of one of those people at this point where it's sort of like, what's the best deal that I can get? Let's just give me the deal. If I can make it work, the financing works for me, then I would buy a car through Amazon. I would.
This is interesting. I did a quick search for an Ioniq 5. I did the within 250 miles, and it gives me view on dealer site for some of them. Only one of them says buy on Amazon. That one's coming from New Jersey. So I think I think the part of this that is limited by miles is really just is really, oh no, this one's coming from Santa Monica. Why did it give me a New Jersey thing on the main page? That was confusing. Okay, so it is within the 250 miles.
Yeah, I was about to say that didn't make a lot of sense.
Not everything on the site is available for purchase. Some of it is directing you to the dealers to be like, you can buy this one from Amazon, but if you want that one, you're going to have to go to, talk to the dealer about it. So I think that must have been part of the negotiation is they'll make a limited part of their inventory available for Amazon. And the attractiveness here is not price. The attractiveness here is convenience.
Convenience. Well, that's everything Amazon.
Yeah.
Right? I know sometimes you get a deal on Amazon, but mostly it's, I just want, toilet paper tomorrow. That's where I'm getting it.
Yeah. And a car.
And I also need a car.
Yeah. So bring them to me.
The two things you need in life, toilet paper and a car.
Yeah. I run into the problem though, when we want to buy a car, which doesn't happen all the time, but we've got a car that's about 10 to 8 years old and another one that's 14 years old. So we're getting to where we might want to start trading in. And when we talk about it, my wife is always like, yeah, but I want to drive whatever we buy next. I want to test drive it. I don't want to just order it sight unseen over Carvana or Amazon or anything else, right?
Well,
I mean, you might do it later that way, but
isn't that like totally it's the same thing as like go to the grocery store, see what the price is, and then buy it on Amazon.
Yeah. I wonder if Amazon at some point down the road, if this got popular enough, would start offering test drives. Where they would like have somebody bring a car to you and then you could drive it around and decide if you want it.
Sounds
because it's a big part of the purchase decision.
But it is. No, it's true. It's true. Yeah. There are many cars that I've thought were very cute and very much for me. And I drove them and I was like, something's weird about the steering wheel. I don't like it. No.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I just don't like the way this drives.
It's like buying a pair of shoes. You think you're going to like them, but do they fit right? Not necessarily. You got to try them out.
Yes, with shoes, you can buy them on Amazon and return them if they don't fit fairly easily. It's a lot harder to return the car. You can do it. They have a return policy, but it's just more of a pain in the ass.
Wouldn't that be great if it was like, as long as you don't drive the car outside of the home, you can return within 30 days.
Yeah, exactly. Just like shoes. Well, if you have thoughts on this, you might want to strike up a conversation in our Discord. We have great conversations about all kinds of things happening there. Go join the Discord. All you do is link your Patreon account at patreon.com/DTNS. Wired has an article today about a company called Stroll that is making a product to help alleviate the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease causes tremors, among many other things. It makes it difficult to walk. One of the ways of identifying Parkinson's disease is to see that your gait is a little off. You can scan people's gait and know, like, you have early signs of Parkinson's. We should do some further testing on that, because it does make it difficult for people to walk. My grandpa had Parkinson's, and one of the things that my dad said is that he shuffled, right? There's that shuffling gait. One thing used to treat that is something called external cueing. So either placing stripes on the ground, or having a metronome play, or even some vibration can help the person focus enough to be able to walk more normally. But of course, you can't walk anywhere where there isn't colored tape. So that becomes more of a problem in the regular world. That's why Tom Finn, after dealing with this with his father, started Stroll to use augmented reality to help people with Parkinson's. The software is called Reality DTX. They run it on a Magic Leap headset. Magic Leap still around. We mentioned a while ago that it moved into the enterprise. So here's one of the uses of the Magic Leap headset. But instead of colored bands on the floor, it projects colored bands in augmented reality, and then they disappear after the person crosses them. So they don't get in the way of their view otherwise. It just helps them walk. It's 3,000 pounds for the headset. That's $3,800 US. And then 300 pounds a month for the service. Now, you may think that sounds pretty pricey, but they would like you to compare that to the physical therapy that Parkinson's patients have to go through to help them try to improve their gait. If they want to improve their walking, you have to do physical therapy, which can mount up and be expensive as well. So 300 pounds a month pairs nicely with that. They also want to eventually expand this to other conditions. So for people who have trouble walking because of a stroke or multiple sclerosis, those are other examples of conditions that could benefit from this. I think this is one of those stories that when we talk about like Magic Leap is done, I'm always like, I don't know. There might be other uses for it. And I was glad to see that, yeah, there is another use for this, and it's a good one.
It is a good one. I guess my first question is, besides thinking, gosh, this is so great, for anybody who's suffering from Parkinson's or knows somebody who is, and physical therapy being a big part of kind of staving off it getting worse, and figuring out, how to navigate the world with the condition. How long before another AR device can use something like this? I know right now Reality DTX is running on the Magic Leap, but my first question was like, well, you got AR glasses, you got the, you couldn't really walk around too much with the Meta Quest, I suppose. Maybe you could around the house type thing, but if it turns into something that is a alternative for physical therapy, it seems like there are a lot of devices that could make use of this.
Yeah, I wonder if they are able to offer their software to others. I'm sure they've done a lot of work in customizing this to be specifically good for Parkinson's, to take external cues and all of that. So it's probably not super easy to replicate. It seems like, you just project some stripes on the floor. It's not that simple. You need to do it in the right way, but it's not impossible that somebody else could come out with a version of this that they can do it. However, that would mean that the other company that was in competition would see this as a successful device. And at 297 pounds per device per month, it's difficult to see how many people would want to take advantage of this. You have a subsection of people who have Parkinson's. I don't see anything on their website about insurance coverage. I don't know if
that's another big question.
But it's the kind of thing that perhaps a clinic would use and then offer it to their customers, and then the customers aren't footing the entire bill as well. Right now, if you go to the Stroll website, they have a map that shows all of the clinics that offer this. So that includes a place in Chicago, a place in Montana, and the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio. University of Essex in Colchester in the UK. So yeah, there's a lot of ways this could be used. Not a lot of room in the market, I think, for other folks. And it doesn't feel like the kind of thing they're yet ready to just let you download to your Apple Vision Pro, right? It needs a clinical situation.
Walk around and tell us how it goes. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want this to be in a confined environment where a medical professional is taking note of progress, but progress it is, and this sounds really promising.
Yeah. This is a capital expenditure. I'm looking at their pricing page, and they're basically saying like, oh yeah, this is meant for a clinic to buy. This is definitely not something meant for you to buy at home. But suppose you could, if you wanted to talk to them, but that's not how they're setting it up. It's for in-clinic use, which is why I don't see anything about insurance covering it. All right, before we get out of here, let's check out the mailbag.
Let's do it. If you're a road tripper, whether it's summer, winter, maybe you just like your ideal mode of transportation shaped like an RV. If so, Chris Christensen has a suggestion for those of us who like to vacation on the great open roads.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. This is a resource that is useful for those of you who are RVers, and especially for those of you who have a self-contained RV, and that is harvesthosts.com. And if you become a member of Harvest Hosts, it does cost $69 a year. You can stay at one of over 5,000 different hosts that are often farms or wineries or things like that. There is no charge for the stay, although they do recommend making a $30 purchase. When I looked in my area, I very quickly found 2 wineries and a Christmas tree farm that would host you. So it's an interesting resource if that's who you are. harvesthosts.com. And this is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
Huh. That sounds kind of nifty. I don't know if my back will deal with that these days. I don't know what kind of hosting they're dealing with there.
I mean, maybe it's a comfy hosting situation.
Maybe it is.
Yeah.
In my younger days, I wouldn't even have bothered thinking about it. I would have snapped it right up. Also, Norm wrote in after our talk about blogging with Nate Langston on Monday. I want my blog back. In the late 90s, early 2000s in Austin, I had a very lame blog filled with random ramblings, movie reviews, and food recipes. I faithfully updated
me too, Norm.
until I got a bit busy. Then, in 2005, Hurricane Katrina came through and washed out the server that was hosting my website, and I hadn't backed it up. It was mostly lost. The look and feel made it really unique to me, but I was unable to redo it. I let the domain lapse, but it appears to be available for me to rebuy. I've seen it on the Internet Archive, but would love it if anyone could help me rebuild it. I have no web skills, but if anyone can assist me, I'd love it. I need to rebuy the domain, but after that, I don't really know the next steps.
This is a fun project for somebody.
If anybody wants to help Norm out, you could just shout out in the Discord to him. He's in there, or write us feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com, and we'll put you in touch with Norm. He wants to resurrect the old website. I think that's great.
Norm, I also had a very lame blog back in the day. I thought it was just talking about stuff where I would just cringe at now. But it's part of our lives. We were all bloggers once.
Yes,
so
indeed.
So I totally get that. That.
Well, folks, as we've been mentioning, we've got new stickers with art from Len Peralta. There's one of me. There's one of Sarah saying no to a watermelon, but yes to a gadget. There's one of Roger with his It Still Works coffee mug with a picture of his smoking microwave on it. If you would like these stickers, they're available in the Daily Tech News Show store for $4.99 each, or you can get all 3 for $12.99, and the shipping is free. Just head over to dailytechnewsshow.com/store. Get yourself some stickers. Patrons, stick around for the extended show, Good Day Internet. Have you heard about these mystery drones buzzing New Jersey? We're going to talk about that Why? Why are they doing it? We don't know.
But we do know that you can catch our show live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That is 2100 UTC. And you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We're back doing it all again tomorrow, talking about what happens when an internet-connected AI companion gets its cloud service shut off. With Scott Johnson joining us. Talk to you then.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.